Inspiring Theology, back with my second installment of my new talk series, where I, Jaharis, talk about a variety of problems that we Christians face and offer biblical advice on how to overcome them. And in this second installment, I would like to talk about how to deal with pressure. Now, keep in mind that pressure is something that not only we Christians face, but that everybody in general faces. Facing this fact, we should try to develop a sort of mechanism, a method that helps us cope with pressure, especially given the fact that we experience pressure nearly every day of our lives. Now, I've noticed that the type of pressure that we Christians or that people in general face generally fall under two categories: pressure to conform and pressure to perform. Now, it's important that we understand how to go about dealing pressure in a biblical manner because as Christians, we want to seek to glorify God in everything, even in our troubles. Now, let's deal with this first category: pressure to conform. Now, the Bible makes it very clear in Romans chapter 12, verse 2, the following: Do not be conformed to this world, but be transformed by the renewal of your mind, that by testing you may discern what is the will of God, what is good and acceptable and perfect. Romans 12:2 makes it perfectly clear that we Christians are not to conform to this world. Now, it's important to identify terms and certain words that help clear up this passion. For instance, the Bible says that everything that God created is good. In another place of the Bible, it says that everything on earth is good. But then here the Bible is saying that we should not conform to the world. What the Bible is trying to get across in this specific passage is that we should not conform to the attitudes, to the cultural systems of this world. Because if anyone has the slightest knowledge of history, you would know that the cultural systems of this world are pagan, and paganism always leads you away from God. We are not to conform to the attitudes and the cultural lifestyle of this world because that will lead us away from God. Now, to clarify, conforming is not always a bad thing. For example, the Bible says that we are called to be holy just as our God is holy. We are called to conform to the image of God. After all, we were made in his image and we were made to serve him and to worship him. As a rule of thumb, try to keep in mind and try to remember always that we Christians are in a spiritual battle, and that more often than not, the kind of pressure we receive against us is demonic in nature. The Bible says in Ephesians 6:12 that for we wrestle not against flesh and blood, but against principalities, against powers, against the rulers of the darkness of this world, against spiritual wickedness in high places. Now, I'll try to avoid saying that all the kind of pressure that we receive is demonic because that just isn't true. The Bible actually identifies an enemy apart from the devil, our own flesh. Our own flesh is a sworn enemy of ours. Why? Because the flesh wants to constantly indulge in sinful behavior. So everything bad that happens isn't always caused by the devil. Now let's move on to the second kind of pressure we Christians face, and that is the pressure to perform. Now, of course, as Christians, and as the Bible says, we should seek to do everything to the glory of God, and we should always give it our best shots. Because why? We glorify God and we testify of God when we do things at our best. I like the way someone put it when he said, sometimes the only Bible people read is our testimony. As Christians, it's important that we give good testimony at all times because that could be the only Bible that people read.